released about 120 pages of documents, and I started asking for these documents right when I came into office and before Kash Patel was in there. So I ended up getting about 120 pages. We carefully redacted them, of course, to be sure the 254 young girls, women who are victims of sex crimes and sex trafficking, their personal information was redacted and out of there to protect them. So I'm going through it and I kept saying, there has to be more, there has to be more. I'm assured that's it. Kash asked the same questions. Assured there's no more. I found out, this week that a source told me New York, SDNY, they're sitting on thousands of pages of documents regarding Epstein. Thousands. And of course, you've seen the very strong letter. We will get everything. We will have it in our possession. We will redact it, of course, to protect grand jury information and confidential witnesses. But the American people have a right to know. And Donald Trump is the most transparent president in our nation's history.
There's something going on at the FBI. Now, I've talked to you guys many times about the MAGA Confederates and people who are, all over Pam Bondi, all over Kash Patel. There's something going on. I can't tell you what. Maybe, and Dan Bongino ain't going to tell us either, but there's something going on. You heard last week where there was a rumor, unconfirmed, that Kash Patel no longer wanted FBI agents doing his protection, that he had to find some other way of protection. Then this came out, and it says, Democrats are freaking out that FBI Director Kash Patel has a direct line to President Trump. They insist he should have to relay any messages to the president through Attorney General Pam Bondi. FBI Director gets direct line to the president. FBI Director has ordered direct phone lines from his home and office to President Trump. Democrats insist that Patel should have to relay any message through Attorney General Pam Bondi and avoid any direct contact with the president. So now you got to put your thinking hats on. Get them adjusted. Make sure they fit. And you should say to yourself, why would the FBI director and the president have direct communication? And it's not going through Pam Bondi, it's going directly to President Trump. And the second question would be, why would he need private security? Seems like a no-brainer. The FBI is the best of the best of the best, right? Why does he need a private group of people protecting him? Third question, why would the director of FBI need protection? He figured, he's at the FBI and he's surrounded by these guys. I guess when he goes home, something weird's going on. Don't know what, but if this guy's life's in danger, then of course you want him to have a direct line to the president. He's not doing it to go around or usurp Pam Bondi's control or her influence or her office. Something tells me at this point, when you see something like that, Kash Patel is his own dude. As we know, the hierarchy is Department of Justice, and under the Department of Justice is the FBI. It sounds like what President Trump has now done is says, I understand the hierarchy according to on paper, but as far as I'm concerned, you're every bit as important as a cabinet member. I want you to be able to talk to me directly because I'm calling the shots here. I am the president, and I want you talking to me. I don't want you to have to go through buffers. If you got something that I need to hear about, then by all means, contact me. And then the last question you ask yourself is, why do the Democrats have a problem with that? Why would you possibly have a problem with the President of the United States having a direct line to the director of the FBI, well, we need to have them separate because, we don't want any illusion of there being any control of the FBI by the presidency. Oh, there's no illusion. He is. I mean, let's just stop that right now. If you think that there's any separation there, well, that's where you're wrong. He is going to be part of the cabinet per se. And you're going to have to deal with it because this guy, the entire time, and the reason why he was brought in was to specifically have a direct line to the president. Now, if Dan Bongino had a direct line as a deputy director, maybe you'd have some issue. But the director, I want him picking up the phone and calling President Trump at 3 a.m. Pretty sure you would too. We got some concerns that we have to address. And one of those concerns is that, I don't know if you saw today, they found another person who got within close proximity into Congress with a gun. Then today, they actually had to shoot somebody, even though President Trump's down here in Palm Beach, there was somebody up on the White House grounds that the Secret Service actually had to shoot. This isn't going to get any easier. At this point, you know that Trump is getting closer and closer and closer. And he's over that target, and all the people around him are over that target as well. There is something here, and this is what I'm going to address right now. Glenn, people have to go to prison or nothing changes. All right, so let me jump ahead with that right now because that may be important for us to discuss. Those of you guys know that late last week, after she missed the deadline with the whole thing about the Epstein files, even I said it was a big fail. I still consider it a big fail because you announced it and you didn't follow through. That was the big fail. I did not say she's a failure as a attorney general, as some of the MAGA Confederates are saying. Because one of the things I've noticed, and even from the point of what Glenn here says, people have to go to prison or nothing changes. I'm going to ask you guys a question. I want to see this in a chat. Do you know how many arrests in the last 2 weeks, major arrests, that Kash Patel and Pam Bondi have effected? Because a lot of people are under that notion, nothing's happening. She's not doing anything. Kash Patel, he's been on the job, he's not doing anything. And I'm wondering how many of you actually know how many arrests have actually been made. And the answer to that question, I'll show you some of them, is that you should amend your statement. And what your statement should say is, none of the arrests that they have made actually mean anything to me. Because they've been busy. They've been really, really busy, and they've been busy under the auspices of what President Trump has told her to do. I played a video for you last week where President Trump said, I have my priorities. Pam Bondi said, the president's priorities. So whatever those priorities are, again, I'm thinking about being in that war room and whatever chart he has and how I'm going to do this and how I'm going to do that. And are you watching the dominoes? Are you watching everything that's happening, or are you only looking at the Epstein list? Because a lot of the people online are trying to tell you, focus just here. Just look at the Epstein list. If we don't have the Epstein list, nothing else matters, which ain't true. I've seen over the last couple of days, in addition to the arrest I'm going to show you, I'm going to tell you, as you may know, how many people are taking the exit ramp. How many people in the DOJ and how many people at the FBI are just, we're out. And what's happening? Have you followed what's going on with Kristi Noem at Homeland Security and how they're making these people take lie detector tests to get rid of them? There's a whole lot happening, but because the media doesn't talk about it, you're not going to know. Because a lot of the people out there that do what I do don't talk about it either. It's like Epstein. And I'm like, you're not seeing over here. You're not giving them props for what's going on over here. So let's talk a little bit about this. Breathe and see if, again, imagine you're in an office and Kash, I'd like to have a report from you. You're Donald Trump. Give me a report. And understand, I have priorities, which I have told you what those priorities are. And you got this big board. You ever see those shows where they say, here's a mafia kingpin, and they're going to take down the capo, and they're doing this, and they're doing this, and then they're working their way up to the big guy? That's what's happening. From Kash Patel himself. Breaking. As President Trump just announced, I can report that tonight the FBI, DOJ, and CIA have extradited one of the terrorists responsible for the murder of the 13 American soldiers at Abbey Gate during the disastrous Afghanistan withdrawal. One step closer to justice for these American heroes and their families. This was on March 4th. Now, if you look at the calendar, and if you have one next to you, this is why this is important. March 4th was Tuesday, a couple days after the whole Epstein thing didn't happen. And so they announced, hey, listen, we got this guy, and this guy was a priority target that we were trying to find. But it's not Epstein. Yeah, I know it's not Epstein, but he's a priority target that Trump wanted to take down. And during this period of time, from like, what day was it? That Friday when she didn't get any information to the time that this was posted, 3 or 4 days, and nobody had heard from her, and nobody knew what she was doing. Well, I don't know how many of you have seen this, but on the plane, when that guy got taken in, and I told you I saw this when Sebastian Gorka was talking, I'm like, whoa. And I tap Robin on the shoulder. I'm like, that's Pam Bondi. This is the woman who's not doing anything. You know, yesterday she came out and said, you know, I've got all the tapes, I'm going to get more, and if it's not here by 8 a.m., then, you know, there's going to be hell to pay, and then she didn't respond. Well, she didn't respond because she was grabbing a terrorist. There's her, right there. Guess who's sitting right next to her? Kash Patel. After POTUS finished his remarks last night, Kash, Tulsi Gabbard, John Ratcliffe, and I traveled to deliver on one of his promises. Our top terrorist involving murdering our 13 American soldiers in the botched Afghanistan withdrawal is now officially on U.S. soil. Under President Trump's leadership, we will never forget the 13 American heroes at Abbey Gate. And if you notice the time here, this is the 5th at 9:37 a.m. The night prior, she was flying from Pakistan and bringing this guy in. Did you know that? I mean, seriously, be honest. Did you know it? And you can see the different faces here. There's 2 pictures. This is her and Kash, and that's John Ratcliffe, and there's Ratcliffe's head up there. And this is Pam Bondi. You can just see her nose. There's Kash Patel, and that's Tulsi Gabbard right there. And obviously, they're on the plane with the bad guy. So when all of us, including me, were like, hey, you missed the deadline, it's a big fail, and you got nothing to say, well, they were in operational silence. They couldn't talk. They're someplace else out of the country looking to take down a bad guy, which hardly anybody talked about. I mean, people talked about the guy possibly getting arrested, but you didn't. Did you hear people talking that Pam Bondi and Kash Patel were on the plane out of the country? You can let me know if you did. I'd love to know. Yeah, I didn't know until you told us the other day. And I only knew because I heard Sebastian Gorka saying on Jesse Waters' show. I'm like, wait, what did he just say? He goes, Pam and Kash and I were over in Pakistan and we went and got this dirtbag. I'm like, whoa, back up. What day was that? Oh, so that was the day when nobody heard from either one of them. And we're like, what are they doing? They're not saying anything. They're all quiet. You told us this, and now we can't even hear from you? Yeah, because I'm over in Pakistan picking up Mr. Dirtbag here. But she's not doing anything, right? Yeah, taking care of business for Americans, absolutely. All right, so let's continue with wondering, what was she doing after that? Okay, this is that full picture that I just showed you. There's Pam. Her nose was in a picture. That's Ratcliffe, Kash, Tulsi. Don't know who this guy is, but this one says Tulsi Gabbard posted. Last night, I joined Kash, Pam, Ratcliffe at Dulles for delivery of an ISIS terrorist responsible for the murder. And so what you're seeing is they were all huddled together and had an operational plan that they were working on. Obviously, super top secret. Fox News didn't know about it. I didn't know about it. None of the other YouTubers knew about it because none of our business. We got an operational thing that we're working on that's ultra top secret. Bringing in a bad guy. Nope, nobody told you about that, did they? Right, okay. So now I want to address a couple things. This is, let me go to a different screen here so you guys can see better. And this, I started digging myself and going, have they done anything? Well, they're posting stuff, but the media is not covering it. This is the Department of Justice press release page. All you got to do is go here, and you can start seeing some things. This is their formal press release page. Boom. Former refugee pleads guilty and admits to supporting ISIS. March 7th. Boom. Department of State employee charged, meaning arrested, for conspiracy to gather or transmit or lose national defense information. Last Friday. Boom. Employee at multinational DVD company charged with stealing, selling pre-release commercial DVDs for blockbuster films. Not a big deal to you, but there's probably a reason that they're doing it. This was on Thursday. Next thing. Active duty, I reported on this, active duty and former U.S. Army soldiers arrested for theft of government property and bribery scheme. This was on the 6th as well, and this was the one that talked about betrayal of the United States government. I think there's one more here. Justice Department charges 12 Chinese contract hackers and law enforcement officers in global computer intrusion campaigns. And this was on Wednesday, March 5th. But I thought Kash Patel and Pam Bondi weren't doing anything. Well, you were wrong. And I was wrong. We just haven't been seeing it. Nobody's reporting it. Well, Barry, those are just traitors and terrorists. It's not Jeffrey Epstein. He's dead. But she's doing stuff. So when I said earlier about the guy needed to amend his statement, he should have said no arrests are happening that I care about. Because the arrests are happening. And so you're seeing the quality of these arrests, and 2 of them are for treasonous activities. I'm pretty sure treason is a priority above Epstein. You see, whatever data they have on Epstein, it ain't going anywhere. And Epstein and the woman that's in jail, they aren't involved in any current trafficking schemes because he's dead, supposedly, and she's in jail, supposedly. And so I guess at this point, you have to just wonder, what's a priority? Who is determining a priority? Because I can tell you who's determining the priority, and this is what may make some people mad, is because it's President Trump. She said it and he said. The work that Pam Bondi is doing right now is based on the things that I've determined to be a priority. So if there's anyone to blame, it's not Kash, and it's definitely not Pam. President Trump has set the priority.